You think you've seen heartbreak before? Think again. What unfolded in that courtroom wasn't just a divorce, it was the public dissection of betrayal, served raw to millions watching across the world. As Tamela stepped into the courtroom, her eyes were full of tears, but there was a fire in her heart. The air around her shifted, the cameras rolled, and the reporters whispered. The moment the judge finalized the divorce, there was silence. But Tamela, she didn't stay silent. With unwavering strength, she grabbed the microphone and delivered a statement so powerful, so devastating, it shook the nation to its core. You didn't just take my husband. You tried to take me with him. But I'm still standing, and you two are done. It was a courtroom explosion as Tamela obliterated David, exposing him for what he truly was. A man once adored by millions, now exposed as a manipulator hiding behind Bible verses and therapy sessions. And Dr. Jackie, the counselor who got too close, she didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Tamela's words hit like a thunderclap. You smiled in my face, while you slithered into my marriage like a snake. The internet exploded. TikTok was flooded. #Justice for Tamela, #David the Deceiver, #Dr. Jackie Exposed. These hashtags went viral, transforming what started as a private affair into a public reckoning. If you thought the courtroom was the end, buckle up, because this was just the beginning. The courthouse was packed with reporters, their elbows jostling for the best position, cameras flashing like lightning. You could feel the tension in the air like a fuse ready to blow. No one expected Tamela, gospel royalty, to be at the center of the year's most explosive celebrity courtroom battle. But today, she wasn't just showing up. She was shutting it all down. As the double doors swung open, an eerie silence fell. Tamela walked in, no glam squad, no entourage, just heartbreak in her eyes and a fiery determination in her soul. She didn't need to say anything. Every step she took spoke volumes. Betrayal was etched into every movement, and the reporters in that room knew this wasn't just a divorce hearing, it was a reckoning. At the defendant's table sat David Mann, the same man who had once shared a stage with Tamela, prayed with her, and raised a family together. But now, he sat cold and distant, avoiding her gaze, his face sweating through his suit, while his lawyer nervously whispered in his ear. And sitting next to him, the infamous Dr. Jackie, the therapist, the relationship expert who once appeared on national TV offering marriage advice. Now exposed as the other woman. The polished image she had built crumbled as soon as the rumors were confirmed. She had no words. Tamela didn't need to give her any space to speak, because her own words were shaking the very foundation of the courtroom. When the judge entered, the room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. The moment the divorce was announced, the courtroom exploded. Divorce finalized. The judge declared that all marital assets would be split 70/30 in favor of Tamela, with custody of all minor children awarded solely to her. But Tamela wasn't finished. She rose calmly, walked to the podium, and then let it rip. With a voice trembling, not from fear, but fury, she turned to David and spoke. You didn't just cheat on me. You betrayed a covenant, our children, our God. And you didn't fall in love, you fell in lust with a lie wearing a therapist's mask. The courtroom gasped. Dr. Jackie's lips trembled, but she said nothing. She had no defense. Tamela turned next to the judge and the reporters. He told the world I was his queen. But behind closed doors, he handed my crown to a woman who pretends to fix marriages while destroying them. The cameras went wild, capturing the moment in real time as Tamela owned the spotlight. Social media went into overdrive. #Tamela Mann trended worldwide. Clips of her calling David out mid-trial racked up millions of views. Fans and celebrities alike rushed to her defense, while David's reputation was imploding in front of millions of people. But what shocked the world the most was what came next. Tamela reached into her purse and pulled out an old photograph. It was her and David on their wedding day, young and full of hope, smiling with innocence. She held it up for everyone to see. This was us before the lies, before the fame, before Dr. Jackie. I held on to this photo hoping you'd remember who he used to be. But now, you can keep it, because that man doesn't exist anymore. She dropped the photo to the ground, and the sound of it hitting echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot. David's face turned ghost white. Dr. Jackie shrank in her seat. The public went wild. TikTokers reenacted the scene. YouTubers dubbed her Queen Tamela. Even Beyoncé's fanbase rushed to the comments, calling her speech the most powerful divorce moment since Lemonade. But the cameras missed the darker side of the story. Sources close to Tamela revealed that the affair had been going on for over 2 years. It didn't start with love notes or romantic dinners, it started in a therapy session. David had suggested marriage counseling, and Tamela agreed, wanting to fix what was broken. But instead of fixing their relationship, David used it as an opportunity to build a secret relationship with Dr. Jackie, the very woman hired to save their marriage. Dr. Jackie allegedly started texting David privately, and Tamela found out months later. By that time, it was too late. Emotional boundaries had been crossed, meetings turned into private lunches, and eventually, hotel rooms. Tamela stayed for the kids, for the image, for the faith, until one day she walked in on them, together, in her own home. What followed was nothing short of a public spectacle, as betrayal, legal battles, and an intense PR war escalated to a new level. David's team, in an attempt to salvage what was left of their reputation, tried to downplay the gravity of the situation, insisting that it was a private matter and asking for forgiveness. But Tamela, unwilling to let her truth be overshadowed, chose to stand tall. She refused to hide behind a carefully crafted image. Instead, she filed for divorce publicly, making sure that the world would hear her side of the story. And today, that brave decision paid off in ways no one could have predicted. As the courtroom doors closed, Tamela emerged, her head held high, her strength undeniable. She stood at the courthouse steps, surrounded by a swarm of flashing cameras and fans who filled the air with chants of support, screaming her name. She didn't cry, nor did she retreat into the shadows. Instead, she faced the world with unwavering resolve. "I'm not broken," she declared, her voice firm and clear. "I'm free." This moment was about so much more than the dissolution of a marriage. It was a public reckoning that no one could ignore. The truth was being unveiled, and the more the world learned, the less anyone could deny what had been happening behind closed doors. Leaked audio files began circulating, further implicating Dr. Jackie's involvement, while investigations into her medical license began to take a serious turn. Tamela's legal team, armed with voice notes and irrefutable evidence, was determined to turn the tide in her favor, and it was clear that the battle was far from over. But the next twist was nothing short of explosive. Outside the courtroom, Tamela's oldest daughter, Tia, found herself in the midst of a chaotic scene. She had been caught on a hot mic, her voice laced with fury as she screamed at David, "You didn't just betray Mom, you betrayed all of us." Her words rang out across the hallway, sending shockwaves through the gathered crowd. Security rushed to manage the scene, but it was already too late. Reporters had swarmed, cameras flashing, capturing every second of Tia's emotional outburst. Within minutes, TMZ went live, and Twitter erupted with hashtags like #TamelaDivorce, #DavidMann and #NotMyDrJackie. The world was watching as the drama unfolded in real time. Back in the courtroom, the tension was palpable. The judge, having witnessed the public spectacle unfolding outside, returned to the bench with a grim expression. He wasn't just overseeing a divorce, he was witnessing the unraveling of a family empire, one that had been built on secrets, lies, and hidden truths. And then, the bombshell came. A hidden audio file, submitted by Tamela's legal team just hours before, was played for the court. The courtroom fell silent as David's voice rang out over the speakers. It was from a supposed marriage counseling session with Dr. Jackie, but what was meant to be a therapeutic conversation was nothing more than a calculated confession. David's voice, too calm and measured, echoed through the room. "I can't leave her. It'll ruin my reputation. But what we have, Jackie, it's real. You make me feel alive. Tamela doesn't even see me anymore." Gasps reverberated through the courtroom. The truth that had long been hidden was now exposed for all to hear. Tamela didn't flinch. She had already known what was coming, but hearing it laid bare in front of the world was another moment of painful validation. Dr. Jackie's eyes widened in shock as she realized she was trapped. The walls had closed in, and the carefully constructed facade she had been maintaining was no longer sustainable. She had nowhere to hide, and the world now knew what Tamela had been fighting against for so long. This wasn't just about a broken marriage, It was about the exploitation of trust, the betrayal of love, and the systemic manipulation that had tainted everything. As the judge took a moment to process the revelations, it was clear that this divorce was no longer just a personal matter. It was a public reckoning, a moment of justice for a woman who had been wronged in ways that were now impossible to deny. Tamela's strength had led her here, and with every piece of evidence, her resolve grew even stronger. The courtroom was no longer just a space for legal proceedings. It had become the stage for a much bigger story, one that transcended the boundaries of a marriage and called out the dark truths lurking in the shadows. Tamela had reclaimed her voice, and the world was finally listening. The drama, though intense, was just the beginning of her new journey, a journey of empowerment, healing, and standing tall in the face of betrayal. With every revelation, Tamela's story gained more strength, and the truth was more undeniable than ever. The judge ordered silence, but the storm had already begun. The Mann family, long known for their faith-based image, was now crumbling on live television. And the worst was still to come. Tamela's lawyer rose, revealing financial records, wire transfers, secret trips, hotel reservations, all linked to David's business account, disguised as consulting retreats but tied directly to Dr. Jackie's schedule. This wasn't just an affair, Tamela's lawyer said. This was a calculated double life, funded, protected, and concealed for over 2 years. And the cost? Tamela's dignity, her peace, her family. David, the man who once sang about faith and family, now sat undone, exposed for the world to see. But then, in a shocking turn, David stood. Without being called, he walked up to the judge, trembling. "I never meant for this to happen," he began. "I never wanted to hurt Tamela. I was lost. I felt unseen. Jackie made me feel like I mattered." The courtroom fell dead silent. But Tamela wasn't ready to let him rewrite the story. She stood, trembling but fierce. "You ask for understanding," she said. "Where was your understanding when I was crying in bed, wondering why you wouldn't touch me? Where was your understanding when I begged for counseling and you said I was overreacting? Don't paint this as a moment of weakness. You built this lie, one kiss, one lie, one secret at a time. You weren't lost, David. You were gone." The judge called for the final decree. The marriage of Tamela and David Mann was officially dissolved. Assets and custody awarded to Tamela. But outside, the drama was far from over. The crowd cheered, not because she had lost, but because she stood tall in the face of betrayal. She walked out of the courtroom, not broken, but reborn. And the world watched as she reclaimed her story,